say just one word? It's my understanding that you know the victim, and for privacy reasons, we're not going to announce her name, but if you would extend on behalf of the city, the council, our best wishes for a speedy and complete recovery. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we're going to go ahead and close our regular meeting and open up our public hearing, and I'll call up our building official, Mr. Bailey, to walk us through.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
So the first item on tonight's public hearing is for Alamon Fitzgerald Properties LLC, and they're requesting a preliminary site plan review to construct 2 buildings with ground floor commercial space and multifamily apartment units above. The properties are located on the corners of High Street and Pearl Street. Tax map and parcel 431-5.00, 267.00, 268.00, 272.00, 272.01, 273.00, and 274.00. This is the area. Currently, it's vacant property on the corners there of High and Pearl Streets. It's across from the Seaford Executive Center and the museum on High Street. This is the site plan. I kind of tried to highlight where the buildings are located because it's kind of hard to see on the screen, the 2 blue squares there. The larger square is the building number 1, 8,831 square feet. It has a commercial and a private amenity for the building tenants on the first floor, 5 apartments on the second floor, and 5 apartments on the third floor. Building 2 is the smaller of the 2, 2,100 square feet with a commercial unit on the first floor, 1 apartment on the second, and 1 apartment on the third floor. This whole project requires 72 parking spaces, and they are showing 72 on the site plan. And it's kind of spread around the area there behind the buildings. Some is existing today, some they are adding, but the total would be 72. Stormwater, they're being designed, and it will outfall down to the river. They're working with the city engineer on that path, and it does require approvals from Sussex Conservation, State Fire Marshal, and the city engineer for that stormwater system. The project engineer, Ken Christian-Berry, is here, as well as the owner, Mr. Craig Alamon, if there's any questions.
Okay, questions from council? Councilman King?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, Mike, pending approval, when the project starts, what kind of time frame are we looking at for completion?
Craig probably be the better one to answer that. Come on.
Mr. Alamon, will you come up and?
Good evening. Evening. So we have applied for the latest round of the Downtown Development District grant. If we are approved and everything goes well, as soon as we get all the approvals, we'll start right away. My lenders are ready to go. I have financing ready. They're pushing me. I would like to see the cost of construction materials come down a little bit, but even with that higher cost, everything's all relative, so it should be fine. So, I mean, ideally, I would like to have all this wrapped up and be breaking ground within the year.
Wow, nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions from council? Are there any questions from the public? There was one statement on the phase that said on the first floor there were other amenities, private amenities. What are those?
So the building is going to have a small area with cluster box mailboxes, also an elevator, and just a basic laundry facility for an existing building of that size.
Okay.
Now, previously, we did propose to have a full laundromat, but that has been scrapped. And in its place, we have a lot of interest from everything from folks down at have CNC restaurant downtown. They would like to put in a high-end bar with some bar food downtown. Also, other folks that have expressed a possible interest with knowing folks that have an Irish pub. I have a lady with a bakery that wanted to have space right down by our pupuseria, but she didn't have the capital to do that. So if she's still around and interested, we've made that commitment to her that we would do that build out for her, because she only had $20,000. Which is not nearly enough in order to do a restaurant build out. But with that $20,000 commitment, we would go ahead and do that build out, have a small bakery there as well. But we are open and soliciting interest from other folks that may be interested in bringing their business to downtown Seaford, because it's changed so much. It's a great place to start.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Thank you for clarifying. Appreciate it. Are you going on to number 2?
Yep.
Okay.
Second item on the public hearing is for the City of Seaford, requesting to rezone a portion of a parcel from the current R3 high-density residential zone to R1 low-density residential zone, and it's located on Nowline Boulevard and Harrington Street, tax map and parcel 531-13.00-1.01. This is the golf course property. This is a unused corner of the property that has been zoned R3, I believe, since the city bought it. With, I think, the former country club had intentions on developing it for residential townhouses or something. But this is just it's roughly a 1.67 acre parcel, or section of that parcel. We're looking to rezone it to R1 low density residential to match the existing zone.
Okay, are there any questions from council? Are there any questions from the public? Okay, Mr. Bailey, going to number 3.
On item number 3, City of Seaford is requesting to subdivide a portion of a parcel into 5 lots. Proposed zoning R1 low density residential, located at Nylon Boulevard and Harrington Street, tax map and parcel 531-13.00-1.01. This is the same property that we just saw on the rezoning request. This is a shot from Google Earth. So it's just an unused corner there of the golf course property at the corner of Harrington and Nylon. This is the survey that Miller Lewis we had done by Miller Lewis that shows the 5 lots. And the next slide does zoom it in a little bit, so it's a little easier to see. But the R1 zoning requirements for these lots, the minimum lot width is 75 feet, and the minimum lot size is 7,500. And these 5 lots, as shown on the survey, lot 1 is the one closest to the bottom of the screen there, is 102 plus or minus feet wide with 14,449 square feet. And then they go up from there. So lot 2 is 76.55, 14,370. I think I've got that mixed up. I think lot 1's at the top. I'm sorry. So lot 2 is 14,370. Lot 3 is 75.2 feet wide and 13,639 square feet. Lot 4 is 75.01 feet wide and 13,437 square feet. And lot 5 is 150 feet wide, 17,463 square feet. All these lots do meet the minimums for the R1 zone as shown in the zoning code. Just for some information, this is the opposite end of the golf course. This is at Nylon and Locust Street. These properties were recently developed and they all are roughly the same size, and they do have some attractive homes on them. So this is typically what we want to see on these properties.
Okay, are there any questions from council?
Yeah.
Councilman King?
Thank you. Mike, can we talk a little bit about planning and zoning? Were they favorable, unfavorable? What was their recommendation?
Well, I can speak to that. It'll be in the findings of facts, but they did vote. They recommended, they wanted to see 4 lots, but they agreed that the lots do meet the zoning code.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Councilman Santos?
I was not aware that that was what planning and zoning recommended, that there was to be 4 lots. Did anybody else get that? You guys did? Okay.
Any other questions from council? Are there any questions from the public? So we'll go ahead and close our public hearing and reopen at 7:15 our regular meeting. I'll turn it back over to our building official, Mr. Bailey.
Thank you. Moving back to item number 1, findings of facts. Pearl Street mixed-use project. Location is High Street and Pearl Streets. Zoning is C3 Riverfront Enterprise Zone. Tax map and parcel 431-5.00, 267.00, 268.00, 272.00, 272.01, 273.00, and 274. Building number 1 is 8,831 square feet, and they're having a commercial and a private amenity for the building tenants on the first floor, 5 apartments on the second floor, and 5 apartments on the third floor. Building 2 is 2,100 square feet, commercial space on the first floor, 1 apartment on the second floor, and 1 apartment on the third floor. They're providing 72 paved parking spaces, which is the number required by code. Stormwater is being designed to outfall to the river, and it requires the additional approvals from Sussex Conservation, State Fire Marshal, City Engineer. And Planning and Zoning did make a favorable recommendation to council at their February 3rd meeting.
Okay, I'll accept the motion.
All right, Mr. Mayor, Councilman King, I'll make a motion to approve the request of Allman Fitzgerald Property LLC for a preliminary site plan approval to construct 2 buildings with ground floor commercial space and multifamily apartment units above. The property is located on High Street and Pearl Street, tax map and parcel number 431-5.00, 27.00, 268.00, 272.00, 272.01, 273.00, and 274.00 as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Holland, I second that motion.
Okay, are there any questions on the motion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman King?
Aye.
Councilman McCoy?
Based on findings of facts.
Councilman Holland?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Councilman Henderson?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
And Councilman Santos?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Okay, passes
Point
unanimously.
one.
Yes, sir.
Could we get Councilman McCoy to state whether it was yes or no based
Yes,
on
My
findings of
apologies.
facts?
Yes, based on findings of
Okay,
facts.
so it's unanimous. Congratulations. Thank you. Appreciate all that you're doing downtown and the investment you're making, Craig. You're really doing a fabulous job.
Yeah, thank you. No, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Bailey?
Public hearing number 2, findings of facts, City of Seaford rezoning. Current zoning is R3 high-density residential, requesting to rezone 1.67 acres of parcel 531-13.00-1.01 from R3 high-density residential to R1 low-density residential. Planning and Zoning made a favorable recommendation to council on March 3rd.
Okay, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion to approve the request of the City of Seaford to rezone a portion of a parcel from current R3 high-density residential to R1 low-density residential located at Nylon Boulevard and Harrington Street. Tax map and parcel 531-13.00-1.0001 as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Mr. Mayor, I second that motion.
Councilman Holland seconds. Are there any questions on the motion? If not, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman McCoy?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Councilman Holland?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Councilman Henderson?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Councilman Santos?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Councilman King?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. All right, Mr. Bailey, take us through number 3.
Public hearing number 3, findings of facts, City of Seaford subdivision, located at Harrington Street and Nylon Boulevard. Current zoning R3 high-density residential. The proposed zoning is R1 low-density residential. Tax map and parcel 531-13.00-1.01. The R1 zoning requirements, 75-foot lot width and 7,500 square foot lot size. The proposed 5 lots are Lot 1, 102 feet wide and 14,049 square feet. Lot 2 is 76.55 feet wide and 14,370 square feet. Lot 3 is 75.2 feet wide and 13,639 square feet. Lot 4 is 75.01 feet wide and 13,437 square feet. And Lot 5 is 150 foot wide, 17,463 square feet. Planning and Zoning made a recommendation to consider 4 lots to council at their March 3rd meeting, but they also agreed that the lots presented did meet the zoning code.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, I'll accept the motion. I'm sorry? Yes, sir.
Why did, what reasons did planning and zoning give for the 4 lots?
They felt like it would be a larger lot, they could have a little bit larger house on it. That was, and they had some correspondence from someone, I think, saying you guys did.
Right,
You know,
I believe Mr.
stated
Cannon had
several
sent out a
reasons. So,
You know, with this piece of land, it's not coming from, it's not someone else that owns it, the city owns it. And if planning and zoning is recommending a lower number of lots, maybe we should consider it. Or
The way
I'm not
the-
sure why,
Yeah, the way you consider it is to make a motion.
but I'm not still convinced with the whole, because they want to see bigger houses. Is that the only reasoning, or like?
I believe so, yeah, they felt like you could get a bigger house on those lots, but it's, they're all at least 75 foot wide or more, and you can fit a pretty good sized house on
It
those
does fit
lots.
to
That's-
R1 zoning. Okay, all right, thank you, that's it.
Okay. I'll accept the motion. Councilman Henderson?
Comment. I think the prevailing facts are, if you go back to the findings of facts, that they're all the lots are, well, most of the lots are nearly at least 1 1/3 larger than required. There's no non-compliant use. I don't see any purpose in exceeding to 4 lots because it will exclude people from the market. If you have a lot like that and you're going to try to reserve it for very large homes, then you're going to exclude others, and it would not be entirely fitting with the surrounding properties around the golf course, because all the other all the other properties that abut the golf course are of similar size.
Correct.
Or larger.
Right.
So I saw a few that were larger and some that were smaller, so.
Right.
Yeah, I just wanted to
Okay.
reinforce that.
I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion to approve the request of the city of Seaford to subdivide a portion of parcel into 5 lots, zone R1 low-density residential, located at Nylon Boulevard and Hampton Street, tax map and parcel 531-13.00-1.01 as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Councilman King, I'll second that motion.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions on the motion? If not, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman Holland?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Councilman McCoy?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Councilman King?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
Councilman Henderson?
Yes, based on findings of
And
facts.
Councilman Santos?
Yes, based on findings of facts.
It's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you for the
Thank
work
you,
you did
Mike.
on that.
Thank you.
Appreciate it so much. All right, we'll move on to new business number 1. We have a opening on planning and zoning. Mr. Temple, who has served on that committee for
Long time.
long time, has decided he needs to drop off. So we have an opening, and Mr. Kaufman has expressed interest in serving. So I'm bringing his name before you for that appointment. If there are no questions, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion to approve the recommendation of Mayor Genshaw and appoint Mr. Brad Kaufman to serve on the City Planning and Zoning Commission as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman McCoy. Is there a second?
Councilman Henderson, I second.
Okay, thank you very much. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. All right, next we're going to go through the bids on the electrical service upgrades in Martin Farms, and we're going to ask the city manager to take us through that.
As council is aware, Director Bennett is not with us. He's on vacation, so he asked that I present his recommendation this evening. The city did receive 2 bids in response to our solicitation, our bid documents for Martin Farms Electrical Service Upgrades Phase 1. Council is aware we budgeted to underground the primary wire in the back of this development, and we're going to do it in a couple different phases. This is Phase 1, so once we do the primary wire underground, we need to hire an electrician to underground the services, to convert them from overhead to underground. So this is for the first 22 lots that have been identified. We did have a public meeting. A lot of those residents did show up, and we did try to answer all of their questions. You will see that we got 2 bids. Lywood Electric was the lowest bid in the amount of $45,942. We did budget for this work $66,000, so it did come in under budget and is in our FY22 budget, and the director would recommend we award it to Lywood Electric.
All right, are there any questions in regards to this upgrade to Martin Farms? If not, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion to approve the recommendation of Mayor Genshaw and appoint, nope, wrong one, excuse me. I make the motion to award the bid for Martin Farm Electrical Service Upgrades Phase 1 to the low builder, Lywood Electric, in the amount of $45,942 as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Holland. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions on the motion? If not, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman Holland?
Aye.
Councilman McCoy?
Aye.
Councilman King?
Aye.
Councilman Santos?
Aye.
Councilman Henderson?
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous. Thank you very much. We've been working on that for many years, so it's good to see it go forward. All right, next we have the youth protection policy is, Ms. Annette Cole's going to present. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
In front of you, in your packet, you have a proposal for the youth protection policy. The city management is proposing this policy because our general liability insurance carrier Travelers, it has suggested that we do so to mitigate liability risk within our recreation programs. The youth protection policy provides practices that will protect youth from incidents of misconduct and inappropriate behavior. The policy lists screening processes for Parks and Recreation employees as well as volunteers, which include background check requirements and an interview process to assess eligibility. This is actually already a current practice, but we're just kind of putting it all into one policy. They also lists the screening processes for all Parks and Recreation employees. And it states disqualifications for employment on volunteerism based on different circumstances. Again, this is already common practice and is in accordance with the criminal history clearance policy that was approved by council on January 13th, 2015. So it's been in practice for a while. Again, we're just putting it all into one document. The policy goes on with general rules surrounding supervision of participants, reporting requirements if misconduct is suspected, and communications guidelines with youths that would be participating in our youth programs. The policy will require that all documents containing personal information of youth participants be treated as confidential, and it will be kept in a secure area and destroyed in a secure manner as state law dictates. And then just the last page is an acknowledgement form that all employees and volunteers, coaches, officials, anyone that would be volunteering with the rec programs would have to sign. And that's just stating that they read and understand the policy, and we're going to keep it on file, and it would be kept in a secure location as well.
All right, are there any questions in regards to the youth protection policy? If not, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion to approve the youth protection policy as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Holland. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Councilman McCoy seconds. Any questions on the motion? If not, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman Holland?
Aye.
Councilman McCoy?
Aye.
Councilman King?
Aye.
Councilman Santos?
Aye.
Councilman Henderson?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. And then you're continuing on with the concussion
Yes.
policy? Okay.
So the next policy I'm going to present is the youth sports concussion policy. Again, this policy is being proposed because our general liability insurance carrier, Travelers Insurance, has suggested that we do so to mitigate liability risk within our rec programs. This policy provides youth sports coaches, volunteers, game officials, and staff associated with the Seaford Recreation Department with guidelines relating to how to recognize signs of a concussion, procedures for dealing with athletes and parents when a concussion is suspected, as well as mandatory rules concerning the return to action for a participant. Just to be clear, coaches and game officials are not being asked to diagnose a concussion. Their role is to use their best judgment in observing signs, symptoms, and behaviors of participants that have received a blow to the head. If they feel that a participant is at risk for concussion, they are to remove the participant and notify their parent or guardian as soon as possible. The rec department will then provide that parent with the head injury referral form that you'll see with the policy. And it will be the parent's responsibility to get the participant evaluated by a qualified health professional. The healthcare provider will have to sign the release that states that the participant can return to active play. If they don't return that, then the child will not be able to return. Again, the last page is an acknowledgement form that all employees, volunteers, and coaches and officials will have to sign stating that they have read and understand the policy, and it will be kept in a secure location. And just to note, this policy is applicable only to city teams, leagues, and sporting events. The city is not responsible for implementing any concussion or head injury policy for independent teams, leagues, organizations, or associations that may utilize our city-owned properties or operating on the fields, but are not actually a rec program.
All right, are there any questions in regards to the youth concussion policy? Concussion policy. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Is there going to be any kind of orientation or training available to the coaches and parents that would enable them to be more sensitive and to be able to recognize these symptoms?
It does list some things that they should look for in the policy itself. I don't know that we've talked about it. It may be something that we would look into when they're actually receiving this packet, especially for volunteers that it, wouldn't be.
If not coaches, then at least officials.
Right.
Someone on the field needs to be aware.
I agree. It's a
Yeah.
great point.
The officials may have that in their training.
Yeah.
Maybe, but
Yeah.
it's not known to me or
Right.
us.
Yeah, they'll all be required to review this policy and acknowledge that they're aware of it. And as Ms. Cole states, it is very user-friendly on what to look for and what to monitor for, and it errs on the side of caution.
Right.
But certainly, as our superintendent of Parks and Recreation and her staff manages this with our volunteers and our paid staff, if she feels there is a disconnect and a need for training, we can certainly line that up. It's a good suggestion.
Any other? Councilman McCoy.
Just to provide some feedback in that regard, I know at the high school level, we do have meetings with the officials to go over policies and protocols just like that, so it's a great idea.
Councilman King.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of what Councilman Henderson, can you provide a little bit more clarity, if I understood you? So the coaches and referees, if they diagnose the concussion, they're not going to provide any type of first aid or
they're not
911, or the parents are going to move them? I mean, I'm a little concerned with the concussion. Somebody's on the ground and potentially could have a neck injury or something, and we're like, well,
Well, I think in that case, I would hope that they would call
They call
emergency.
911.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is more if somebody gets a hit to the head and that they should know to pull them out and maybe, just kind of assess, see if they are clearly able to answer questions, things like that. And I think that it does, like Mr. Anderson said, it does err on the side of caution. So I think it's just, they're not necessarily having to diagnose the concussion, but just to take precautions and say, okay, you need to sit out, we're going to call your parent, and then the parent would be the one that would make the call ultimately, whether they feel, that would be, to me, more of an emergency situation. If somebody's laid out on the field, I think it would be a little bit.
Yeah, I get that. That's an extreme case, but
Right.
with concussion protocol, I'm a little concerned we'll diagnose it and then just sit here, and then when the parent gets here, then the parent can make
No,
the
they're
decision.
supposed, it's in the policy that they are supposed to pull out the child immediately and then contact the parent as soon as possible and, explain what has happened, why they feel that he or she may have received a concussion, and it is up to the parent to get them
Right,
medical help.
But they're not going to react in the moment, or it's the parent's decision, or?
Well, I mean, maybe it's best if we just read from the policy. So it says, role of coaching staff. Coaching staff will not be expected to diagnose a concussion. That's the job of an appropriate healthcare professional. Coaches and coaching staff will be asked to use their best judgment in observing the signs, symptoms, and behaviors associated with concussion. And it goes on to talk about that. So that's what they're looking for. They're looking for if they don't know where they are, if they're confused, if they have a dazed look, a vacant stare, and they're not in the game, they're not in the moment, then that's when the coach needs to say, okay, I might have a problem here. Let me get the parent or guardian and notify them, I think there's something wrong. So you need to take them to a qualified professional. I'm not going to put them in the game anymore. That's what this is all about. Because it really talks about brain injuries can be compounded if I get an initial concussion or almost concussion and I put that child back in. That's when real damage occurs. So that's what we're trying to kind of cut off with this. And it is very educational.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think this is all great, but is there any policy in the Seaford policy that a loss of consciousness would trigger a 911 call?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, I mean, and our superintendent of parks is here. Am I correct in stating that whenever you do have a loss of consciousness, 911 is called?
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty standard in any league I've ever played in.
I would hope so, but it's not memorialized.
Well, you'd like to believe that these things that we're stating in writing are already being practiced by 99% of the coaches.
And I go back
and
to
officials.
something Ms. Cole said in her presentation. Several of these bullet points we already had. We already had a background check policy that really, we've been doing this for, Ms. Cole, help me out, 10 years, and where we look at backgrounds, and we actually have a policy. If you've done this, you cannot coach. If you've done this, and it's been more than 5 years, you can coach. So,
And there's state law surrounding it too, which we follow.
So a lot of this is not new. This codifies, we're trying to avoid this.
Okay. If there are no other questions, I'll accept a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion to approve the youth concussion policy as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Holland. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Councilman McCoy seconds. Any questions on the motion? We'll do a roll call vote. Councilman Holland?
Aye.
Councilman McCoy?
Aye.
Councilman King?
Aye.
Councilman Henderson?
Aye.
And Councilman Santos?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you.
Mayor, if I just might add, I'd like to thank Ms. Cole for all the research she did. She really led this. She did a lot of research on this policy, drafted it, and turned it around very quickly. So we're very appreciative of her efforts.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, next we have cleanup week, or city
so-
manager leading us through this.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
In your package, you have a recommendation from Director Mears, and he would like to have cleanup week 2022, the week of May 9th through May 13th. And this is the same week as it has traditionally been in the spring, and I know residents are counting on it, so he and his staff are gearing up to have that annual event if council agrees.
Okay, if there's no questions in regards to cleanup week, I'll accept a motion.
All right, Mr. Mayor, Councilman King, I'll make a motion to approve the request from the Director of Public Works, Burley Mears, to sit cleanup week 2022 from May 9th to 13th, 2022, as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman King. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Councilman Santos, second. Any questions on the motion? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman King?
Aye.
Councilman Santos?
Aye.
Councilman Henderson?
Aye.
Councilman Holland?
Aye.
And Councilman McCoy?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. All right. Under old business, we have the second reading. Am I calling up the building official for this? Mr. Bailey?
Evening again. So this is the second reading to amend Chapter 15 of the zoning ordinance of the municipal code relating to solar facilities. I'm not sure, do you want me to just hit the highlights of it or go through the whole thing again?
I think, the highlights.
Okay.
If we have questions after that, we can go through that, Mr.
The
Bill.
basic gist of it is we're adding provisions in the zoning code for solar facilities, and we broke it down into two categories. An accessory system, which is like a roof-mounted system on your house that supplements your existing electric service on your property, and a large scale, which is a primary purpose of wholesale and retail sales outside of the property. So across most of the zoning classifications, we've added the accessory solar systems, and in R2 and C2 is where we've put the large-scale systems, and there are some special requirements for the large-scale solar facilities, and it is a use by special exception. So folks who wanted to do that would have to come to the Board of Adjustments, and I'll hit all of these because they're pretty important. For large-scale solar facilities, we have the special requirements, no storage of materials or trucks, and no repair facilities or housing of repair crews, except in completely enclosed buildings. Architectural design of the exterior of any building shall be subject to Section 1597. We want a perimeter fence around the entire site, minimum of 8 feet in height. Screening requirements subjects to 1592. Setbacks as required in 1542, which is the C2 zoning setbacks. Maximum height, 15 feet as measured from the grade of the base of the structure to the apex of the structure. That's for the solar panels themselves. And it shall not be located in any special flood hazard areas without the proper review and approval by the floodplain administrator. Maximum generation capacity, 1 megawatt. Maximum land area, 3 acres. We want a bond for 100% of the removal costs. A development plan showing all necessary improvements shall be submitted to the Board of Adjustments for the approval. And the installation of the solar facility shall benefit the residents and/or businesses of the City of Seaford and not be contrary to the health, safety, or welfare of the City of Seaford. So,
Okay. All right, are there any questions from council for Mr. Bailey in regards to amending Chapter 15? If not, I will accept the motion.
Councilman Holland, Mr. Mayor, I make the motion to approve the ordinance to amend Chapter 15, zoning of the municipal code of Seaford, Delaware, relating to a solar facilities as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Holland. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Councilman Santos seconds. Any question on the motion? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman Holland?
Aye.
Councilman McCoy?
Aye.
Councilman King?
Aye.
Councilman Santos?
Aye.
And Councilman Henderson?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very
Thank you.
much. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay, reminders of meetings.
Have a couple this meeting. Lighted Up Blue Autism Awareness Event is Friday, April 1st, 2022 at 6 p.m. at the Spring Street grass lot. So it's a little different location this year because of the construction in Gateway Park. The annual Easter egg hunt, Saturday, April 9th, 2022 at 9 a.m. at the Seaford Sports Complex football fields. Again, a new location. We did it last year there, but just to remind everyone. And then Tricia Newcomer will be acting city manager March 26th through April 3rd. And then just to note, we have a municipal election coming up on April 16th between the hours of 7 a.m. and 3 p.m. And we have 4 candidates for 2 positions, mayor and city council person. Mayor David Genshaw has filed for re-election. Councilman Matt McCoy has filed for re-election. Pat A. Jones has filed for mayor, and Stacy Witt Spicer has filed for council. That's all I have, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll start with committee reports, administration IT. Councilman Santos?
Thank you, Mayor. The report has been submitted in its entirety. Some meetings that were attended by city staff were the school district. There's a small meeting. They are recruiting teachers right now. They met with an entrepreneur looking to start a business in Seaford. They met with a historical society regarding a Christian light donation. They participated in a conference call regarding the Dolby Farm development with D.R. Horton. They met with Bill at Nutter Park to look at lighting improvements. They attended the Martin Farms bid opening, the DSP graduation in Dover, and the swearing-in ceremony at the police department. For the IT report, they are working on installing and running cable for the CID and PD roll call room. They installed 1 smart board with the school, installed a second board in CID, also did cable management and cleanup for the 2 relocated desks along with their video station. They have ordered equipment for the Scott IP conversion, and everything else is routine.
Okay, thank you very much. Next we'll have Police and Fire, Councilman Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's a full report. However, I'll just go through some of the highlights. There are 2.5 fire calls per day so far in 2022 for an average of 3.0, well, in year-to-date, and then slightly ahead of the average in March for 3.0 fire calls per day. EMS calls, 10.6 calls on average per day in the year, and 11.2 calls per day for March. Slightly ahead of average. That's there's a total of 1,161 calls to date for the fire department in general, for an average of 12.9 calls per day, year to date. There's a list of in-city and out-of-city fire calls there for you to review. Under significant calls, there was one out-of-district assist, kitchen fire on Hitch Pond Road in Cool Branch. That was in the Laurel District. No, I'm sorry, that's the Blades District. On 3/20/22, there was a residential fire on North Street where there was an appliance fire. A dryer had caught on fire and it went through the venting system. Under apparatus, Tower 87 is out of service, but the DOT inspection was completed. Brush 87 is out of service for DOT inspection. So E87.5, E87.2, Rescue 87, Tower 87, and Tanker 87 have all completed their DOT inspections. All of those are fit for service except for Tower 87. There's testing and interviews ongoing for the career lieutenant positions. And there was an ambulance repair for the new ambulance. It was repaired under warranty, B87. Under other events, the ladies' auxiliary, pardon me, the ladies' auxiliary had a successful drive-through fundraiser on the 12th. The soup was delicious. You should, if you didn't get any, you definitely need to take advantage of it next time. Also on that same day, the Seaford Department provided coverage for Blades while they attended their banquet. All Draeger SCBAs received their compliance updates for NFPA. And coming up on 3/26, the fire department will assist with the Gemstone Prom at Grace Church with EMS standby. Under Seaford Police Department, the Chief Kraft has submitted his normal graph with his 22 year-to-date and other periods behind that. Under all crimes, you'll see 208 crimes and their distribution through felonies, misdemeanors, violations, civil, and other, for an 88% clearance rate. You'll see the crime data view, which you'll be able to enlarge in your document if you choose to do so. Under drug complaints, there were 22 drug crimes and unfortunately, two overdoses, but I'm under the impression that they weren't fatals, that they were resuscitated. Under traffic, there were 286 traffic contacts with 98 citations and 22 warnings. 0 DUIs in this period, even though it was St. Patrick's Day. 19 crashes, 10 reportable, 3 injury accidents, and 6 reportable. 5 hit and runs, and 1 pedestrian accident, which was on private property. Under significant events, I will, there are several, but I will give you an update on a previous arrest. The lewdness incident exposure complaint at Pure Fitness on February 5th. Through a joint investigation with Cambridge Police Department, the suspect was identified as the same suspect in Seaford, as well as several other incidents that had occurred in Cambridge, Maryland. Warrants are on file against the suspect. However, he is currently incarcerated in Dorchester Detention Center. So at least this gentleman's behind bars for the time being, and he's not going to be causing any trouble for a while. So that completes my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Code, Parks and Rec, Councilman Holland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Start with Code. So far, Code has issued 1,556 rental licenses, and they had completed 91 rental inspections, and 7-Eleven are putting in a few items, give you a progress report, and all the work is routine. And we will go to Parks and Recs. Okay, Parks and Recs did installed irrigation boxes at sports complexes, and they are busy doing spring work for the upcoming season. And they reached out to soccer parents to confirm last few coaches for youth soccer program, and they have sorted teams for youth soccer and have 207 children registered for the season. And as it was advertised earlier, Lighted Up Blue will be Friday, the 9th, April 9th. And they sent photos to the Star to showcase winners of the Youth Basketball League All-Star Game and Skills Competition. And all the work is routine. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Electric with Councilman McCoy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Had a few highlights here. Dylan Calloway completed week 1 of 8 for lineman training. Nick Moore filled out the federal EIA report. He recently hung the new switches at the entrance to the industrial park and took delivery of our new pickup for the operations coordinator. For our director, he had a standardized director's meeting, council liaison meeting, and staff meeting. He met with John's Tree Service behind Walmart. And the goal for the next few weeks will be to conduct a flagging class. Nick Moore will take week 6 of 8 for lineman training. Tyler Sewell will take week 3 of 8 for lineman training. And they will dig in the primary conduit at 7-Eleven. Again, that's been a few of the highlights, but Mr. Mayor, that's been my report.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Public Works and Wastewater Treatment, Councilman King.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My report has been submitted in its entirety. I'm just going to hit some of the high-value activities that are currently going on throughout the community, and I'll start with the Public Works Department. The team continues to flush fire hydrants. Burley has put out the advertisement for the paving bid for Seropolis Park. They worked on a new PLC panel at Virginia Commons Lift Station. The team is still dealing with a lot of missing water meter reads. Burley continued to work on the budget. They had a new employee start on March 14th, which is a great thing, but unfortunately, another employee has turned in his resignation. I'm going to jump over to wastewater treatment facility. All is well. Plant performance remains good. Some of the activities coming up over the next 2 weeks, they're going to continue to flush hydrants. They're going to replace hydrants where needed and repair the clean out on the smoke testing list. And with that, Mr. Mayor, that concludes my report.
Are there any more questions? If not, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So we have a motion. Is there a second? Is there a second?
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Say
Aye.
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 Those opposed? Say those opposed.
Those opposed?
Say thank you and good night and bang the mallet.
Thank you and good night.
Attaboy. Attaboy.
See how easy it is being mayor?